Welcome back everybody to another episode of our weekly Moto News Roundup, where this time we'll look at a stunning new concept from BMW, a slightly more traditional new accessory kit, another 400 in the works from Triumph, some sad news for Suzuki's brilliant SV650, Kawasaki attempt a mind-blowing record, KTM's numbers don't quite add up, Suzuki have a lawsuit on their hands, and we'll round off with some of your designs from Honda's new Dream Garage custom tool. But first up, let's take a look at that rather striking new concept bike that BMW just announced. Effectively, it's an electric scooter, but with some roll bars over the top. And BMW, from reading the press release, are well aware that it bears more than a passing resemblance to their also rather striking C1. So, what's so unique about it and why is it a big deal? Well, one of the reasons would be the same sort of seat and seatbelt setup as the C1, which combined with the roof mean you don't actually need to wear a helmet. They say it'd make the bike more convenient and casual to use, and I guess better for kind of city riding. But personally, I think I'd probably rather wear a helmet when riding a bike like that. Another talking point would be its self-balancing function as well, which they mentioned kind of briefly in the press release. Another big convenience, of course, with no need to put your feet down if you're in stop-start traffic. Although for this one, there's not really any proof because all of the imagery for this concept seems either to be CGI or tweaked with AI. And so as to whether they can genuinely do it yet or not, well, that remains to be seen, although we do know that it is a technology that exists or is possible from Honda's real videos of it in action a couple of years back. Perhaps my favourite thing about it though is from the promotional video on YouTube that shows that it can be configured in a number of different ways or in a number of different purposes. I guess trying to show that those roll bars can be used in a sort of practical sense as well, and also that it's been built with this kind of modularity or versatility, let's say, in mind. So they show it as a coffee cart, a golf cart as well, although a two-wheeler, although it is self-balancing, and a rolling DJ booth, amongst other things. Now, maybe it is a little bit fanciful. They're probably just showing some extreme ideas of what it could be used as, but it does look kind of utilitarian, and I can see some people or custom houses doing some really quite cool stuff with it. So when can you actually buy one? Well, at the end of the video, it says coming soon or later. Maybe. So I guess that one is still up in the air. But in the meantime, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. For something a bit more traditional, well, you might want to check out also from BMW their latest accessory kit, which has just been announced for their R12 Retros. Well, specifically, it's the R12 9T, and they call this one the Tracker Kit. So it includes a short tracker-style tail section. They've also tidied up the back end with some multifunction indicators. Then there's a little fly screen, all kind of color matched as well. Some side number boards as per, your typical flat track style bike, a tracker sticker set, and also a color matched front mudguard. They do say though the flat track style tires and also the specific numbers they've used in these shots, the 35, well, you'll have to provide those yourself. Still, I think it looks really cool. And given that Indian recently said they'll discontinue their FTR lineup after this year, well, it is nice to still see a flat track inspired bike on the market, although unfortunately it's £1,999 for this kit on top of the existing $14,420, I believe, for a black R12 9T, so, not one for everybody to afford. Although there could be a new more budget-friendly option on the market soon because Triumph's latest 400 single has been spied out testing, and again, this one looks to have a bit of a flat track theme. This one popped up on Powerdrift's Instagram account, and it looks like it'll sit somewhere in between the existing Speed 400, which is completely road biased, and also the Scrambler 400X, which is a bit taller and more rugged. So I guess the signature features would be the side number boards again, those semi-knobbly tires, the more Scrambler-styled exhaust system as well. And while these are fairly modest tweaks that I don't think are going to make it significantly different to ride than the Speed 400, still if they give it some cool paint jobs, which they have done recently with the Thruxton 400, then I do think this could be a really great looking bike. Still, from the start of the life of one model to the end of the line for another, For this week, MCN first reported that Suzuki will no longer be selling their long-standing SV650 after many successful years on the market. You see, at the moment, it's only Euro 5 compliant, and they're saying it won't be updated for Euro 5 Plus, and so that's why you'll no longer see it on the Suzuki website in their current lineup. They say there's just about 60 bikes left in dealers, and once those are all gone, they're gone. Now, that's not to say it won't still be on sale in other markets where Euro emissions laws don't apply, so you might still see it in the US, for example. But still, it's a very sad day in the UK and for those other markets that are effective, because it's a much-loved bike and a real bargain as well. Not only is it very beginner-friendly, it's sort of easy to get on with in terms of the engine, the handling, the stature, but also almost infinitely upgradable because there's such a big aftermarket parts and mods scene, and that's why you'll see loads of them at your local track day. But I guess this was always on the cards ever since they brought out the GSX A-Test a couple of years back, which in my opinion has always sat fairly uncomfortably close to the SV in the Suzuki lineup. So what do you think? Is the GSX A-Test a worthy replacement for the SV, or even maybe the retro GSX 8TT and 8T that they announced a couple of weeks back? Or can you just never beat the original? Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, over at Kawasaki UK, they're working with British stunt rider Johnny Davis, aka JD Stunts, as he looks to set 2 new records aboard one of their ZX-10Rs. Now, the first one will be a high chair wheelie, with the current record standing at 125 miles per hour, and the second record they'll look to break is the fastest speed whilst riding backwards, and that one at the moment stands at 151.7 miles per hour. The attempt is set to take place in about 3 weeks' time, I believe, so we'll report back on that one as soon as we know the outcome. But of course, you know, we definitely wish him luck. Now, anyone remember a few weeks back, KTM putting out a bit of a statement that said they've sold 100,000 bikes so far this year? I guess they were keen to put out, you know, a positive message after a few months of financial difficulties, which, you know, resulted in them putting themselves into self-administration. They obviously want to give the impression that things are back on track, but it looks like maybe they were, you know, slightly overcounting. You see, Ride Apart report this week that 100,000 number simply isn't true, because their latest earnings results for the Pira Mobility Group say more like 50,000 have been sold so far this year, or in the first half of this year, and another 35,000 or so through their partners at Bajaj, who make all of the smaller capacity KTMs, so the 390s and below. That, of course, makes more like 85,000, and so yes, perhaps just a little over-enthusiastic with the counting, or maybe just trying to put a bit too much positive spin on it there. But then Suzuki also appear to be having a bit of a tricky time, with Ride Apart also reporting that they're being sued in the US. Apparently they have a defect with some of their front brake master cylinders, with a chemical reaction causing debris that could either diminish or completely kill front brake power. Now, the 2 plaintiffs allege that Suzuki knew about this issue but didn't issue a sufficient recall, and so now they want compensating for the cost of having to replace it or the diminished value of their bike, with there being a known defect, as well as offering to represent anyone else with a Suzuki bought through an authorized dealer in California. Absolutely not ideal for Suzuki, especially since they had a similar lawsuit less than a couple of years back. Still, let's round off with something a little bit more positive after last week when I shared Honda's new Dream Garage tool, which allows you to mock up your own custom GB350S or CB500. So a huge thanks to anyone who had a go and sent them in, like this one from Ben G, a stealthy black GB350S with a bit of bling from the gold wheels and gold side panels. Liam Gertz sent in this one of a brilliant throwback tank, which I really wish Honda would actually make for the GB350S, because a lot of the colour options that we get here in the UK are a little bit bland. And then the 9 Jake went pretty nuts on the CB500 with this bold red pattern for the tank and mudguard, and then again some gold accents to really set it off. Once again, I'll link to that tool down below so you can have a go if you haven't already. As always, let me know what you think of this week's stories down in the comments below. And if you missed our most recent video, a review of the bargainously priced Morbidelli T1002V, then I'll stick it on the screen now so you can give it a click and give it a watch and catch up. Do hit subscribe as well to get more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews like this right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.